Hi, my name is Alex, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to incorporate gaming and gamification into education. Before we get into the meat of this video, I wanted to briefly go over what we'll be covering today. It's important to note that we'll be talking about both gamification and games-based learning. As you'll see, they are two distinct concepts. We'll discuss how to incorporate both of these into the classroom, and we'll provide an overview of some pros and cons for each. By the end of this video, you should have a good understanding of how to gamify your curriculum and how to incorporate games into the classroom. But first, a brief history of video games. Actually, we don't have time for that, but I will point out some statistics about gaming that might surprise you. According to the Entertainment Software Association, more than 214 million people in the United States today play video games 1 hour or more per week. 75% of all U.S. households have at least one person who plays. In sum, 64% of U.S. adults and 70% of those under 18 regularly play video games. Of course, that's not all on expensive PCs or video game consoles. That also includes mobile gaming. But for our purposes, what's important is just to note the ubiquity of gaming these days. It's very popular, it's here to stay, and your students are largely comfortable with it. That's a big reason for the rise of gamification and games-based learning. So now that we have some background, let's go back to our original focus. What is the difference between gamification and games-based learning? Gamification has only really been a defined concept since the late 2000s. There are many good descriptions out there, but we'll go with this one. The addition of elements commonly associated with games, e.g. game mechanics, to an educational or training program in order to make the learning process more engaging. Note what is not here. Gamification is not about incorporating a video game into a class or classroom setting. It is not having students play quote-unquote serious games. It is not having students use popular games like Minecraft for educational purposes. That is all games-based learning, and we'll return to that later. Instead, gamification is about taking game elements or game mechanics and applying them to your regularly scheduled curriculum. So what game mechanics are we talking about? Typically, gamification may involve taking a routine activity and adding game mechanics, such as awarding experience points, badges, and levels for completing activities, and leaderboards to boost engagement and to measure performance and progress, thus increasing user interest and even making the activity more addictive. Some of the most common game mechanics being added to classroom settings are a point system of some sort, digital badges, leaderboards, and quote-unquote choosing your own adventure style syllabi. Oftentimes, many of these mechanics will be incorporated directly into a class's learning management system. And indeed, gamification has become very popular in online or blended learning environments. Points in a progression system of sorts are often used as a stand-in for more traditional grading systems. It has been argued that the points system has helped to stimulate student engagement and interactivity. Digital badges are used as rewards and instant feedback in an attempt to increase student motivation and sense of self-worth. Leaderboards have been used in order to foster friendly competition amongst students. This competition hopefully leads to increased engagement, although the use of leaderboards are sometimes controversial in the world of pedagogy and education. More on that later. Many popular role-playing games, like The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, employ fundamentally non-linear gameplay. The user is allowed to choose their own adventure, so to speak. The player can choose which quests to take and whatever order they want to take them in. Similarly, a gamified class can allow students to pick and choose assignments to complete in order to reach the amount of experience points or levels the professor requires. There is even reason to believe that this sort of system is useful in of itself. As one author has argued, deciding which assignments to complete and how to approach them is an opportunity to practice metacognition. Offering students choices is a strategy for building motivation by increasing the relevance of a given task, including offering ways to demonstrate learning relevant to different professional contexts. This all sounds good, but is it really beneficial to students? One important reminder is that this is a new field of study, and further research and assessment is needed. However, many authors have argued that there is indeed a positive outlook. The authors of a recent systematic review of the literature stated the following: student engagement, motivation, and enjoyment are widely cited as benefits of gamified learning. Although a few studies did not observe an improvement in the final exam scores, perceived learning was widely concluded as a positive effect of gamified learning. Improved learning was observed in the majority of students when compared to non-gamified groups. Student attitudes in the form of increased effort, participation, attendance, confidence, and interest in class was also an important benefit observed from using gamification and games-based learning. Improved student performance in the form of higher quality projects, improved learning outcomes, reduced failure rates, and higher average scores were also observed in gamified learning groups. At the same time, some studies have reported negligible benefits or none at all. And some authors have even argued that gamification can have a negative impact on certain students. Gamification, like any element of the curriculum, has to be properly planned and executed. Teachers have to provide clear instructions in order to avoid student confusion. Even under the best of circumstances, some students might react to gamified classrooms with indifference or even disdain. And finally, there's some reason to believe that teachers might be wise to carefully weigh the use of leaderboards in particular. As the authors of The Dark Side of Gamification noted, leaderboards are strongly associated to many negative effects mapped in this work. This result is corroborated by the psychology literature regarding ranking systems within learning environments. Students can find leaderboards to be intimidating, overly competitive, or even hostile to some degree. So now that we've covered gamification, it's time to go back and look at what games-based learning is. As one author has noted, games-based learning takes advantage of gaming technologies to create a fun, motivating, and interactive learning environment that promotes situated experiential learning. In short, games-based learning is the use of actual games to promote learning and education. Sometimes these educational games are referred to as serious games. Serious games are still meant to be enjoyable, but they are primarily designed to be educational in some way. Games like this are meant to promote active learning, experiential learning, and situated learning. There are also plenty of examples of hugely popular commercial video games like Minecraft being repurposed for education. Minecraft in particular has been widely used in humanities courses because of the ability it gives students and teachers to recreate a specific historical place or period. Games-based learning, like gamification, is a relatively new field of study that needs further research. However, like gamification, many researchers are clearly optimistic about the benefits drawn from using games for education. Among other things, games-based learning encourages students to take a problem-solving approach to learning. Games provide instant feedback for learners. It also promotes higher levels of student motivation and engagement. And finally, there is some evidence for greater retention of information via games. Like gamification, there are also some drawbacks to games-based learning. Some, like possible student indifference, are similar. But games-based learning also brings with it its own challenges. Designing your own serious game requires resources, time, money, technical skill, etc. If you aren't going to design your own, you'll have to find a relevant open source serious game, or repurpose a popular game like Minecraft. Even that brings with it technical challenges and problems. You'll also have to design your games-based learning activities in a clear and concise way in order to ensure that your students know why you are using games and what's expected of them as learners. And finally, while entertainment can lead to more engaged and motivated students, it's important to remember that your games-based learning activities have to be designed with sound pedagogy in mind. Education is still the primary goal. Entertainment is simply a supplement. This list of readings help to inform and inspire the views presented in this video. Hopefully they can be of use to you too. This guide from the University of Toronto Libraries also provides some helpful resources, especially when it comes to games-based learning. There are plenty more freely available resources available on the internet. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of gamification, games-based learning, and serious games. They can be a viable option for instructors trying to do something different in the classroom.